All right, this recording is to kind of try to help you guys out and guide you with the annotated bibliography. And again, I try to keep it kind of down to key points. If you have any questions, please let me know. And as a side note too, I will follow up with an email with examples from other students who did a good job with the annotated bibliography. And I have a really specific format that I use, so I want you guys to follow. Um, really quickly, I think the thing that would be different between an annotated bibliography and like an abstract would be that with the annotated bibliography, you want um, key information that's like directed to your relevant for your research paper. And so you want to kind of, it's just a little bit different. It's not just a pure overview of the entire work. It kind of pulls out the main details that are relevant for your research paper. Um, this is a book that I've recommended. I had it on reserve at the library, but it's like 50 contemporary issues that are relevant to education. Like, does it help to hold kids back for a year? Does merit pay improve teacher performance? Testing, all the things that are kind of relevant today in education. And the thing about the book is that it wouldn't be a good book to use for your annotated bibliography because it has just like really short kind of sections on each topic. But the good thing is that he lists sources, like key sources you could use if you were interested in that topic. So it kind of gives you an understanding of the topic and then some other books or resources you could look for. Um, and if you're also struggling with your topic, I have a suggested list of topics that's on the you know that that's on the Canvas site. So if you go under the research paper, there's a list of potential topics. I will say that I would recommend certain topics you might want to run by me or check with me, and then a lot of topics you want to tailor them to the topic or the focus of the course. So an example of that would be you don't want a paper that really seems like it's meant for a different course. So like something in the area of special education could be a potentially good topic, but you'd want to focus on either one like the history and background of special education. Another really good approach I think would be like cases, legal cases that have impacted special education, um, and you really want to narrow your topic down. I will say a primary suggestion is to really try to narrow your focus. And a topic where I can tell you that's a huge problem is with testing. Testing is a really popular topic. If I have 40 students over the semester, I might have 15 to 20 papers on testing. And so one, it's really hard to kind of set yourself apart. And then two, I mean, testing impacts students, it impacts parents, it impacts schools, and I just get a lot of the papers that end up being sort of sporadic and kind of all over the place. And that's another key point that I'll make here is that you really want to invest time now. It'll save you tremendously later on down the road. And then two, really kind of dedicate yourself to finding some key articles that are all in somewhere. Don't just pick the first, 5 articles that pop up when you type in keyword. Um, so yeah, again, spend some time looking. Um, I'll try to guide you a little bit. Another key point here is that you absolutely need to have academic sources from either academic books or peer-reviewed journals. Now, academic books have an academic press, so it'll be Harvard University Press or University of Illinois Press. It's a college university press. Let you know that it's an academic book. So if you want to run things by me, sometimes there are some other good books that would be relevant that are published by, um, you know, private or other publishers. So just kind of let me know if you're questioning a source. One of the databases that I recommend that's helpful is EBSCO or ERIC. And it's kind of hard to explain this, but if you you go to the Ball State Library website and you go to databases and then you scroll down to education and get the key databases relevant to education. That will really help you point you in the right direction so that you're directed to the ERIC section of EBSCO, which will be the journals in education, and you will dramatically change the results you get if you follow that guidance. The other thing is that Eric has a box underneath, and I'm sorry if I could go back to, for some reason can't reverse, but if you go back, um, they have a box you can click so that you only get peer-reviewed articles, and I would highly recommend doing that. Limit your result to peer-reviewed journals, and if you want to make it a little easier on yourself, you could also put full text so that you know you can just download them. If they don't have it on full text online, then you'd have to go to the library physically and copy um, the paper or find the journal and the paper. The reference librarians are really good, and if you're in the area where you can go to the library, reference librarians are incredibly helpful. So here's the process I want, or the structure. I want I need to have, like, you'll have um, your citation, and I'll send you an example of this. Again, I'll send you an email with an example. You'll have your citation, and then you'll have a section where you literally just write summary. And in your summary, what you want to do is just pull out some of the main points from the source, again, that are relevant to your paper. It should be around 150 to 250 words, maybe a little longer if it's a really important source, maybe a little shorter if it's helpful, but you're not going to use that much from it. And then you're going to have another section where you put assessment. And what you need to do here is say, how do you know it's a credible source? And I have a list of questions that'll help guide you with this. The assessment can be pretty short. I just need you to say, like, this articles published in the journal, whatever it is, the Journal of Child Psychology. It's 15 pages long. It has a bibliography with many sources. The author is an expert in the field, right? So some of those key things, just clear and to the point. So is it a valid peer-reviewed source? So a peer-reviewed journal article comes from a journal that has an editor, and what the editor does is sends the article out to experts in the field, and they review it for some methodology and its findings. So I'm on the review board for a number of different journals. This is how you know it's been reviewed, it's looked at, it's credible. So generally it'll be 10 to 20 pages, have a bibliography, um, and then you can ask yourself some other question. Does it seem valid? Is it researched? Um, Another kind of key thing, and again, I have just seen some students really damage their paper from the start by not thinking about their sources. And an example of this would be, look, for some sources, for some topics, you can have dated articles or something. So if you were doing Mary Wollstonecraft, a paper on her, you could have her own writing from the 1800s, and that's a good source. You could have a paper from the 1960s, and it's helpful to think about the date, but it could still give you some interesting information. Um, Topics like drug and alcohol education, um, testing. So I had a student that just they picked up papers from the 1990s and 1980s on testing. Well, No Child Left Behind changed testing dramatically in the U.S. And so when I was reading the paper, it was really making claims that were just out of touch and sort of just not relevant to the contemporary time period. So um, think about your topic and then the date of your publication, and that could be something you address in this assessment section. You could say, look, this one piece is a little bit dated, but I'm still using it because it has this information. Um, You don't need to do a reflection question. Just as a quick side note or section, I remove that. It's too early to really tell, but I do think it's helpful for you to think about why you chose that source. You know what what it's going to do and how it's going to help you with your topic. I allow you to use either MLA or APA, whatever you feel most comfortable with. Students whose background is more English might use MLA. Special ed would use APA generally. So you can use whatever you're comfortable with. Chicago, you could use as well. Um, Here's an example. I often recommend using the OWL website. It's on the Online Writing Lab at Purdue. They have a good website, and the reason I personally like to use it a lot because they have examples. So if you're looking for how to do a citation, you can find an example. Um, and I would just say, like, you know, put a little bit of time uh, into your citation and your annotation. Um, Again, I'm not going to be upset, for example, if information from your annotation makes it into your paper. Like you should use quotes and information and things in your annotation that are going to set you up to write a good paper. Um, and I think where students really go wrong is they don't invest time in this, and then they go back to write their paper, and they don't have good sources. They don't have good information. You can look up examples of annotated bibliographies, but again, I do have a specific format that I'm looking for. That you EndNote, I generally give a description of this or presentation online. You're welcome to look up. There's a lot of YouTube videos on EndNote. It's just software that helps you create a bibliography, um, and it has a ton of you know elements to it. The reason I talk about it to my students is because EndNote is available to Ball State students for free. Normally, you would have to pay a few $100s for it, but you can download the software for free from the Ball State website. And if you want more information on that, or email me and I'll send you a link to it. So it takes a while to learn how to use it, but once you learn how to use it and get it set up, it helps you. And if you're thinking about graduate school, I think it's almost essential.